Hi there, I'm Kevin Benedict, Senior Vice President of Solution Strategy here at Regalix, and I'm here on SAP's campus in Palo Alto this week. And I'm just thrilled to be here with Jackie Palmer, part of the SAP Hybris team. Jackie, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Kevin.
So you are Vice President of Solutions Strategy and Solutions.
Correct. So
at SAP Hybris.
We've got a combined role for what we call solution management and product strategy. We do long-term product vision. We work with our development, our product management teams on guiding the direction of the product, where it needs to go, and looking outwardly as well to analysts, influencers, competitors, and the market trends to really make sure that we're addressing the needs of our customers.
Got it. So do you also have a hand in the marketing side of it?
I have a counterpart in marketing that I work very closely with, but I don't actually do the marketing myself.
Ah, brilliant. So talk to those that might not be familiar with SAP Hybris out there.
Sure.
What is it? Kind of what category? If they want to just throw it in a bucket and say, oh, it's one of those, where would you place that? And just give everybody a quick background.
So Hybris is the division within SAP that covers what we call customer engagement and commerce. And so we have really 5 key areas. We have marketing, sales or Salesforce automation, service or customer service, commerce, e-commerce, and then what we call customer data cloud. So our real sort of underlying everything, really supporting those other 4 areas from the bottom up with a true customer data profile.
So talk to us about your target market then. Who are you selling to?
SAP targets large enterprises traditionally, although we do go down into the mid-market as well, across a variety of industries. For the Hybris division, it's very much focused on large enterprises in sort of quick-moving B2B and then also B2C areas. So things like consumer products, retail, financial services, telco, and then in the B2B side, distribution, industrial machinery, and some of the other ones that really have a lot of customer interactions. So any industry where you're really interacting with your customer, or even if it's a business customer.
So the SAP Hybris sales team, they're going to look to get in front of what role and responsibility?
Traditionally, we target the CSO, so whoever is in charge of sales, the CRO, Chief Revenue Officer, sometimes they're the same thing, the Chief Digital Officer, the Chief Marketing Officer, and often, of course, with SAP's background, the CIO.
Okay, so you guys also talk a lot about Omni-Channel customer engagement.
We do.
Now, what does that mean in SAP world?
You know, we cover a lot of different areas because we focus on both the front end and digital channels, as well as connecting to ERP to SAP's stronghold in the ERP market and the back end, back office channels. We have a true picture of both online and offline interactions with the customer. And so we really pride ourselves on being able to target any sort of channel, whether that's a traditional offline channel, even the store, or even a salesperson going to door to door, or an online channel, more digital native.
Got it. So you're creating a product here that's used by the sales and marketing organization.
Yes.
So much has changed in the tactics and strategies in that area over the last few years. Talk to us about that.
I mean, really, mobile is a huge change, and has come up as, you know, even if you're just using your personal cell phone or mobile phone, if you're in Europe, you're still interacting with, all of the different, business points at which you're going after. So even if you're using your personal phone, we've still got to market to you on those channels and address you from a sales perspective as well. So we need to know who you are, and we need to know, sort of what you're interested in. And so as marketing has evolved over the last couple of years, you really need to identify figure out how you can identify somebody on those channels that are very mobile first. Right. Because it was much more easy. It was easier when you knew who they were. Even when they were sitting in front of a desktop or a laptop, you kind of had more information about who they were. And
you had their office extension on their business card.
On their business card, or even if you could get the IP address, you knew where they were standing. Yeah. But with a mobile market, you don't know where they are. They're doing business on their vacation. They're doing business in their home office. You don't really know who they are or what they are.
Oh yeah, so we all in marketing and sales have so much more data available to us.
Exactly.
So the real question for all of us, right, is how do we use it ethically How do we use it the right way? And this week, there's the deadline, May 25 here.
And don't be creepy.
For
right?
GDPR, and don't be creepy at the same time.
Yeah.
So GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation,
Correct.
Is that it? Yep.
Yes.
So that is a regulation going into effect this week, so that there's really stringent requirements for handling data.
Yeah.
How does SAP Hybris, you guys have connections into Germany, and Germany's really into that, so I imagine you guys are pretty good at that.
And the GDPR was founded basically because of a lot of the things that Germany already had put into place for their citizens. And I think that one of the key things that we need to do as marketers is really understand where your limits are and what you can and can't do, and really with GDPR now in place, and it's not just for Europe, Canada has regulations that are similar to in many ways to GDPR. Some of the Asian countries are also adopting many of the policies of GDPR because they see how beneficial it would be, and I think it's really only a matter of time before even the US gets much more controlled.
Yep.
And so as a marketer, you need to not be creepy, and you need to make sure that you're using things in an ethical way, and that you've asked for that consent, and that you're giving the customer a way to understand what they've consented to, and how can they change that consent in the future if their decisions change.
So the key there would be the transparency of
exactly.
Here, I want to be a partner with you. I would like to have data on you, because then I can give you relevant information.
And you need to be clear about what the benefits are for that customer, right? So you need to understand how to present that to the customer, that it's going to make it relevant to them, and make them want to give you their consent, and make them want to give you their information, because you're asking them for a lot.
Yes.
And you need to be able to give them something back in return.
So Jackie, traditionally there's been sales and there's been marketing, and they kind of battle in a lot of ways, because marketing says, look, I'm giving you all these leads and you're not being able to convert them.
I think there's less of a battle now, because they've realized that they have to be partners. They have to really work together to have this value added for their end customer. The goal is the same. You want to make sure that your end customer is happy, that your end customer is buying more from you, whatever that purchase might be, even if it's not a physical purchase, and that they continue to be a customer with you. And so I think sales and marketing have now come a bit more to the table together and understand they need to work a lot more together, and there's much more of a partnership there, at least the understanding that there should be a partnership.
Oh yeah, I can see even though I believe that's true, they're working closer together because they have to.
Right.
I do see that more and more of the actual touch points with customers are digital.
Correct.
And so there's an interest on the sales side to say, where are they touching? What are they looking at? What are they interested in? What have they consumed? How many people in that organization are looking at that product of mine? Because that might be a really good indicator that there's something going on there. So I can see how there's more data, there's more, but marketing kind of owns a lot of that data now, doesn't it?
I think that marketing, they own it, yes, but they need to know, that they can share it. And well, at least, again, going back to the GDPR, that they can share it with the permission of the customer across the organization, so that it can be useful to the rest of the organization. It's very useful for sales. It's also useful for servicing, right? I mean, how can you service appropriately if you don't understand what that customer is potentially doing or even not doing? Sometimes it's more important to understand what a customer is not doing, so you can sort of find patterns of non-activity that might lead to a customer to attrite from you and leave you. And so in many ways, the sales and servicing process is tied hand in hand with marketing and doesn't ever stop. That customer circle continues to go, and you have to continue to make those relationships with your customer more and more front and center in every department within your organization, because otherwise you're gonna lose that customer, right?
Absolutely.
Either you won't gain them to begin with, or you'll lose them after the fact.
So a lot of the new tactics and strategies that we've been watching people implement out there in different marketing and sales environments are things like persona-based marketing, where you say this person is not an IT person, but they're a business leader.
Right.
And this person's an influencer, this person's an implementer, this is a partner who does implementations. So here's all these various personas. that it's important because they're all looking for different kinds of information.
And that's actually a great example of where marketing is dependent on sales many times, because oftentimes sales has had a contact with that customer, and sales understands what that person's role is. Right? So you can say this person's role is the decision maker, or this person's role is in procurement, or this person's role is really just a contributor. And so sales and marketing needs to work together as well to understand what sales knows and have that flow back into marketing too.
Oh yeah, and if we look at the content perspective now, when you're supporting, it used to be you just put up your kind of online brochure as a website and say there's one piece of information, that's us.
Yeah.
But now you have persona-based marketing where you have different kinds of paths to purchase, or customer journeys, if you would, or paths, persona-based paths, and all this kind of stuff, and they all require different kinds of content. How have you seen kind of the consumption patterns and trends in what kind of content people are needing and using today?
I think the persona-based one is interesting, but it really, I think the explosion of content has happened because of the channels. So you need to have different content that somebody's going to view on a mobile screen than one that somebody's going to view by an email or by on a laptop or desktop, right? And something that's going to be different than what somebody's going to physically give to you if it's a salesperson handing you something face to face, right? And so I think that number one, definitely they need to look at the persona and make sure that you're targeting the right message, because as even when we market our own software, we market very differently to a CMO than we do to a CIO.
Yes.
We have different things around how much money you're gonna save and how much efficiencies you're going to gain to the CIO. And then to the CMO, it's really more, these are the new things that you can do with marketing software.
Right.
And so I think the persona for sure, but then you need to also tailor it to how they're going to consume it. And each persona might have a different way of consuming that content more than others. So you might have a business person might be more mobile than an IT person. Right.
Yeah, it's just fascinating. I did an in-depth research on the use of, or the consumption of content at different times of day, even by different genders.
Right.
And there's just incredibly different patterns.
Yeah.
There's,
what did you find? Did you find that mobile skyrocketed? It's sort of after the end of the day?
Before breakfast, it's all mobile.
Yep.
And then as soon as people get to work, it goes to desktop and laptop.
Right.
And then at lunch, there's a spike in mobile.
So there's not a spike in mobile while you're in the middle of a meeting checking out.
Well, there probably is. It depends on the meeting, right?
Right, depends on the meeting.
But then what you have is that guys will like watch sports or something else. I know I'm generalizing, but there is a different pattern.
Yeah.
In the evening, like at 10 p.m., all of a sudden you have females shopping on iPads, and you have men not shopping. They're doing something else.
That has been an interesting trend in terms of how we consume entertainment and television, because we're consuming it on different channels, but we're also doing different things simultaneously while we're watching TV, right? We're shopping while we're watching TV.
The second and third screens, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, you're watching the game and you're looking at statistics on your phone.
And you need, as a marketer, you need to be very crystal clear and sort of very short in terms of how you market during those hours, during the prime time hours, because you don't have a very, they're looking up and down. They're watching the TV, but looking down their phone. You don't have a very focused amount of time to get to that person.
Oh, man.
And also you have a very small amount of space that you've got to target them with. So I think marketers are really needing to change the content based on both the persona and also the time of day.
So that's fascinating. So I imagine SAP Hybris allows for the personalization and contextual relevance to be recognized.
Absolutely. Yeah. We do what we call marketing in the moment.
Okay.
So you can really trigger a different type of marketing depending on what moment you're trying to get to. Are you getting to a life event moment, in which case it's a much bigger picture, or are you getting to a micro moment? There's a lot of talk nowadays about micro moments, and like your example of the guy watching sports and then shopping or doing something else is a micro moment, right? You've got to get to them in a different way during those micro moments.
Absolutely. So there's all these fun new mobile technologies, but there's also a lot of new other kinds of technologies. Everybody's talking about artificial intelligence, machine learning, automation of all kinds, different kinds of chatbots and robots and things. How do we see those? Are those being built into SAP Hybris?
Absolutely, and I think that artificial intelligence and machine learning and really getting to learning the most that you can about a customer and their behaviors is going to help benefit the customer, the end user, the end consumer, as well as the marketer. And so from a marketer's perspective, it's going to make things more automated and have more availability to that marketer to dream up new ideas and new marketing ideas and new marketing content and new marketing methods. And for the consumer, it's going to make things more relevant. So you are going to be able to target them with a specific behavior-based message at that moment. Like we were going to talk about the micro moments, those are really all possible because you have understood and you've learned about their behavior through artificial intelligence, through machine learning, through any sort of predictive models that you've come up with. And so we are actively embedding that directly into, and already have, into Hybris marketing as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, what I see here is that so much of this is being streamlined and edited and is changing tactics and strategies, yet there's even an increased demand for content of different forms and shapes. And
it's only growing. I mean, that's the scary thing is I think that the demand for content is only growing, and it's not getting any less. And like you said, there's new channels, there's IoT channels we're going to be marketed to on our refrigerators soon, right?
And so what kind of messages should your refrigerator give you?
I mean, it's got to be a small little message, or maybe you've got a big screen on your refrigerator in a couple of years. Who knows?
Man.
You might have an iPad-sized screen on your fridge.
Yeah, like a Tesla, right? The whole dashboard becomes the, yes, I see it.
Hopefully they're not marketing while you're driving your Tesla.
Oh, man. Oh,
but
yeah. There's enough challenges there.
There are.
Jackie, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom,
Kevin.
Your insight, and all the cool stuff going on here at SAP. And I will be at Sapphire coming up here the week of June 4.
Yes, June 5th through 7th.
5th through 7th. So I hope to see all of you there, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for the time.